Yeah, I told y'all. Danny Garcia handled his business, but he definitely didn't just run through this man and stop him fast like everybody, quote, expected him to do so. Hurd literally, Hurd could have been done with his fight within probably 2-3 rounds if you wanted to. If Hurd was being Hurd, if he was being his old self and fighting the way that he usually does, that would have been a quick fight. I'm saying 2-3 rounds, probably would have beat the bricks out that boy and just stopped him. But he was in there, he was moving, he was jabbing, he was working on things, he was trying to focus on his defense and focus on not getting hit as much. He was a little bit stiff, he was moving a whole lot, but he was a little bit stiff, lot of light jabs. Every once in a while, boom, he would throw something that had some kind of power behind it. But it looked as if, this fight was a learning tool for him. It looked like as if it was a learning tool for him. And he did a straight job, and then I think it was the 12th round, he stopped the guy. He didn't stop him, but he dropped him, and the guy got back up and ended up being a 10-round fight. That could have been done in like 3 rounds. But he did want to work for things. And I think it's a good thing that he spent that entire fight, working on his skills. Now, what I would say with him is, it's almost like you're a prospect again. If this is the route that he wants to take and he wants to completely reinvent himself, then I think what he needs to do is he needs to take his time. He needs to take his time. That's going to be number one. And number two, he's going to have to be active, because he's going to have to live his boxing life as if he's a prospect. And he can do it. I mean, you still young. He's still in his 20s. Pretty much you kind of got to just bite the bullet. Understand that the next 2+ years, you're not going to be with the major fights. And you have to be okay with that. You have to have your nutrition on point, so you're not, so you don't get too big where you can't fit in that weight class anymore, because 160, stay away from 160. It won't be a good look for him at 160. He needs to stay at 154 pounds for a while. So be on point, get a nutritionist, make sure you're on point when it comes to that, and just then hone your skills. You got your new guys, hone your skills, work on your skills, keep progressing with that, stay active. He needs to take that lower check, and needs to fight for 5 times a year. In like next 2 years, he should have 8 fights. In the next 2 years, he should have 8 fights, and he should just focus on that. And if he does that, he'll be okay. And we can then see in 24 months where exactly he's at, where then you start stepping up the competition and you start taking on the contenders, and then, go into the position of, fighting the champions. But if he really wants to, go on this path, that's what he's going to have to do. 1-2 fights a year, 2 fights a year, whatever, it's not going to cut it. And 1-2 fights and then going to them heavy hitters, not going to cut it. It's going to be ugly. Because with what we saw last night, you can't come in there with that same type of style against anybody, against a J-Rock, against a J-Rock, against a Lubin, against a Harrison, a Charlo. You can't use that style with where it is right now. It's in the infancy stage of being built up. So just focus on that, keep working on it, and we'll see what happens. Now, when it comes to Danny Garcia, like I said, everybody might make this assumption that he's just going to run through this guy and knock him out. And I said that's not going to necessarily be the case. This guy has looked good in his last couple of fights. And you can't just necessarily go by what was happening when he was in his low-ass weights. He probably was hurting himself a whole lot by cutting down to those weights. You see how big he is on that, how big he was last night. And clearly this is a better weight from him than what he was doing before. And he's a better fighter now than what he was back then. And just look at someone like Rosario. Look at the people down on his resume. And look at his losses. And all that didn't matter when he fought against J-Rock. He was a different fighter when he fought against J-Rock. And we saw what happened with that particular situation. And everybody wants to trash Danny. Oh, you're supposed to dominate. Oh, it's supposed to last, you shouldn't be going 12 rounds against him. No, yes, you should. You might go 12 rounds against a guy like this, especially as good as he looked in his last fight. Fighters can get better over time. They can, and then also depending on the styles. He was a southpaw. You saw Charlo last time he was with a southpaw. Every time Charlo has a fight with a southpaw, he still beats them, but he's still not able to necessarily dominate them to the levels that he usually does with orthodox fighters. You know, and look at Sean Porter. Look at Sean Porter when he fought Granados. The issues he had with Granados. Got hurt versus Granados. Went all 10 rounds or whatever it was versus Granados. We all saw what Danny Garcia did to Granados. He ran right through him and stopped him. And Danny was smart. Danny has been out for over 9 months. Danny said that he felt that his body wasn't necessarily, was weakening a little bit, I guess he said. It didn't, it was weakening a little bit. So he was smart enough and intelligent enough to understand that, hey, I'm winning this particular fight handedly. So I'm not going to overextend myself to try to do something, to try to please the fans and put myself into a space where I might gas out. Just like Errol Spence when he fought against Mikey Garcia. Errol Spence was big as hell. He had a fat camp. When it came to that fight. He had to lose a lot of weight. He had to lose a lot of weight. And in the ring, you could see that. Yes, he was boxing, he was moving, and then he was going to, once he tried to push it a little bit, actually the corner of Danny Garcia, of Mikey Garcia was going to stop the fight, but they didn't. But Errol Spence understood. He's like, man, this tank reserve isn't where it usually is, so I'm going to just keep doing my thing. I'm dominating the fight, and I'm going to go 12 rounds. And guess this is against somebody who's coming up from 140 pounds. But he was smart and intelligent enough to understand, at the end of the day, let's just go get this W. This guy wants to open up, and he wants to all of a sudden be about that life, then I'll do something. Danny dominated the fight. He won pretty much every single round, almost every single round, and he was victorious, and he did what he needed to do. He didn't put himself in any type of idiotic situation. Like Terrence Crawford trying to push the issue, trying to make a point, and you getting clipped and you getting dropped. And you're lucky that dude, and he's lucky that Mean Machine, after catching him and hurting him like that, whatever, jumped in and smothered himself. Because what he should have done was just stay exactly where he was and just hit him with a check left hook, hit him with an uppercut, all types of different things he could have hit him with. Because as soon as Crawford got hurt, he was open. But Mean Machine smothered himself and kept himself from being able to do work. So, it's a done deal when it comes to that, and we'll see what's up when it comes to this man's future. It could be an Earl Spence fight, it could be a Manny Pacquiao fight. If those two fight each other, I see him fighting somebody else, probably within the next 6 months or so, and then later on in the year, being able to fight the winner of that fight. I think that's what will probably happen when it pertains to him, because Top Rank isn't going to pay him the money that's going to be necessary. Top Rank isn't even going to negotiate any kind of money to get him to go and fight Terrence Crawford. Top Rank also did not contact Sean Porter like they said they were going to contact him and try to make that fight. So that's also a fight that they're not going to do. So they're moving in a different direction. And Crawford, I guess he said that fight was boring and he wasn't impressed. Man, I would implore anyone to go look into Terrence Crawford's box rec and see some of the people that he went 10 and 12 rounds with. That's all I'm going to say. Just go into that box rec and just look at some of the people that man went 12 rounds with. You know what I mean? And I'd rather go 12 rounds in a dominant performance than get hit, get dropped, and have to get up. Take the hits that he did against Benavidez. Now, you don't want to take shots like that, because long-term, career-wise, it's not necessary. It's not good for you. You know what I mean? If you can keep people from hitting your brain like that over and over again, you do that, because over time that accumulates and it could hurt you later on. But it is what it is. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.